Hi, Wolfpack fans. Marcy Bullock here with Emotional Intelligence Part 1. One of the studies that I like to quote is, "What makes a graduate of a university successful?" Some people think that the correlation is to their intellectual abilities, their GPA and their test scores, what we call IQ. But actually, studies show that the ability to carry on a conversation with another person predicts the highest level of success. Talking to the Uber driver, talking to the chancellor, think about it. That's your ability to relate to other people, to see things from their viewpoint. And that's what we call EI, emotional intelligence, or sometimes EQ, emotional quotient. So what to expect today is we're going to give you some actionable items to help you improve your emotional intelligence, define it like we just did, and help you understand how to better communicate. So when you transition to the workforce, you can be successful and have opportunities to get promoted. So in a nutshell, emotional intelligence is why we react the way that we do. It affects every decision and every relationship in our personal and professional life. Interesting too that high performers have high EQ. So I like looking at this slide to see that 90% of top employers have a high EQ. That makes sense, doesn't it? People who are high performers can relate well to other people. Emotional intelligence is also responsible for 58% of your job performance. You might think that you're learning all of this information while you're a college student, and this is going to help you succeed. And it's true, it is going to help you succeed. All the technical competencies that you have related to your course of study. But more than half you're going to be relating to with emotional intelligence. And a lot of this you can improve. It's not something that's set in stone from your childhood, like your personality. People with high emotional intelligence make $29,000 more annually than their low EI counterparts. So that means if you struggle with getting along with people, if you're just a pain in the rear, let's be real, you're not going to get promoted and have opportunities to advance. So we want to focus on our ability to recognize our emotions as well as the emotions of others. It's so easy to read that definition, but in real life, it's so challenging to actually put it into practice. Let's understand how powerful our emotional effect has and use this information to guide our thinking and behavior. Here's some great things about a high degree of emotional intelligence which you can develop and improve. You know what you're feeling, what your emotions mean, and you know how they affect other people. Signs of a high EQ or an EI mean you can handle criticism. You welcome it. You don't deny a problem or blame other people or make excuses. Signs of a high emotional intelligence mean you're open-minded, you listen well with 2 ears and 1 mouth, and when you make a mistake, you take responsibility. I always say, fess up when you mess up. And you have this mentality of wanting to be better, that you're a work in progress, that you're always growing, that you don't know everything. Now, if you have a low emotional intelligence, that means you're not self-aware, you can't see things from other people's point of view, and you're oblivious to your own emotions and those of others. And then you do the opposite of what I just said. You blame people, you lash out, and you don't have impulse control. There's a video linked here that you can Google called the marshmallow test. And you see children as young as age 5, if they are able to control their impulse by not eating a marshmallow in front of them, how that impacts the rest of their lives. So let's take a look at the brain. Emotional intelligence is a balance between the rational and emotional brain. So we've heard of being left-brained or right-brained. We want a balance in there so that we can, when something terrifying happens, we can handle it. That means it might trigger a release of adrenaline. We might feel our heart beating quickly, feel a little bit of sweat beating up, and our muscles tensing up when we're terrified. This is our fight or flight reaction. And when you think about it, back in the day where we were being chased by a tiger, these were daily life or death situations, meaning that we needed to have a response to a terrifying situation. But what is the saber-toothed tiger of today in our technical focused world? It's when our computer crashes. It's a late email from your boss. It's an enraged employee or coworker. It's feeling so upset when someone cuts you off on the freeway, or maybe rushing to class late, or feeling anxious about studying for a test. That's the fight or flight response today. So as we think about this, we want you to understand that if you know how to react and respond emotionally, this will help you so much. Look at the two pictures there and think about the emotions that are going on just by looking at the faces. Obviously, there is some anxiety happening here. Again, most likely to succeed is not the person screaming at their team, but it's the leader who stays in control and calmly assesses the situation. Dr. Daniel Goleman has helped popularize emotional intelligence 20 years ago, and he divided it up into 5 components that you see here. We're going to focus on a few of these in this webinar today. First of all, self-awareness. This is understanding and recognizing your own moods. We're all emotional creatures. We're going to have good days and bad days. I want you to think about self-awareness as it affects your confidence and realistically assessing yourself and having a sense of humor about your shortcomings. So with self-awareness, a couple of different strategies to use would be intentional about paying attention to you. Yeah, just what I said on here is realistic. Be realistic about your capabilities and understand your own shortcomings. Journaling is a fantastic way to be in touch with your emotions. Just a few minutes a day, writing down how you feel about situations. What are you thinking about, and how are your thoughts impacting your emotion? Also, slow down. When you are quick to anger or have a lot of strong emotions, ask yourself why. So really great tips here on self-awareness. Self-regulation is the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods. And it's the ability to think before you act. You don't stick your foot in your mouth. So that can show your trustworthiness and integrity and your openness to change. So here are your tips. Know your values. If you know your values and what's important to you, that can help you to be more accountable and admit your mistakes, and also to be calm and be aware of your reaction to challenging situations. So much of this is awareness. Next is your self-motivation. That is a passion to work for reasons that go beyond money or status and pursue goals with energy and persistence. A lot of strong drive to achieve and optimism even when you face failure. So a tip to improve self-motivation on your emotional intelligence scale is to find something good and be hopeful. If you are motivated, you're probably optimistic no matter what's thrown at you. And we're going to end part 1 of the video with empathy, which is the ability to understand the emotional makeup of the people around you and treat them according to their emotional reactions. So you could put yourself in the shoes of a boss, coworker, or family member. How do we improve our empathy? Just be aware of the definition and say to yourself, how can I look at this situation from the other person's point of view? Listen and ask what the other person would do. If I was in that situation, what would I do? Now stay tuned for part 2 of emotional intelligence on the next webinar.